Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we look at current issues that are happening presently in the country. And today, which is a special day that we are celebrating the 1 year of the president as well as other 28 governors that was sworn in. By this time last year, they were, celebrating and making various promises to, Nigerians and also as well as the citizens, and then giving them all that they hope to do. Now, 1 year down the line, Nigerians have the opportunity to score them. Now, we saw that the issue of scorecard started since last week, where there have been series of activity. And of course, today we wake up to various congratulatory messages, flying to the president as well as the governor. So we just want to hear your own opinion. What is your own scorecard concerning the 1 year of the president as well as the governors and other, ministers and even our House of Assembly? Some of them is already a year down the line. I am Stella Elisha Dasher. And of course, I will be doing the program with Rachel Tanzi. Rachel, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sally.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
Great, thank you so much. So let's start with, just in a way to mark the 1 year. It seems the president wants to gift. I think that is the word that was being used. A gift to
Yeah.
Nigerians. About 75 million Nigerians will be benefiting. That is about 50 million households are being targeted. They'll be getting maybe 50,000 naira depending. We know that already there was a scheme like that was being
Yeah.
introduced, but that scheme was put on hold ever since we had the suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Yes.
Already part of the scheme that was being suspended. We have the End Power. We also have the issue of the school feeding, and there was also another money transfer that we saw that
Yeah.
started, but because of the interrogation and investigation, that has put on hold, and it seems it's going to be resuming, and we're seeing that in a way to actually compensate, because that is the way I see it, to compensate Nigerians for some of the
Yeah.
policies that are very, very tough on them right now. The president is saying, you know what, we're going to have this cash transfer
Yeah.
to 75 million Nigerians, and the person that will be heading this program is nobody else but the Minister of Finance, Wale Adu, where he will be seeing what can be done about this. And a number of people will have their own opinion concerning the issue of this transfer, because you would like to ask a question such as the social register. How would the money be transferred? We're talking about the vulnerable and the poor people. Some of them do not even have bank accounts. So how do you aim to give them this money? Is it through physical cash, electronic transfer? All of this are some of the questions Nigerians would like to ask Rachel. So, I mean, for me, if you ask me honestly, and if you ask a lot of Nigerians, I don't think this is a gift whatsoever.
Sally, when I saw this, I just said we are back again. We are back with more and more promises. Well, it's a week of assessing the 1 year of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office, and we have his scorecard in front of us. And when it comes to humanitarian issues, honestly, it's a zero, Sele. It is a zero. I know we want to be hopeful and positive, but it's all about scoring, right? It's a zero. Because Sele, let's look at it. You've mentioned a handful of all the promises we received ever since stepping into the office of President Tinubu. And my question is, which one has been fulfilled? I don't know of any. The wage award, which is the only one that seems to have maybe 50% of it, we know what NLC went through to see certain months being given, and up to now there's still backlogs of some months, because the last that was given I think was for November, December, and this was given in January. So we are yet to know if January, February, March and giving, because April was meant to be minimum wage has already been fixed. So it was supposed to end at March. April, people start seeing the new minimum wage. That is the only one, and it's not even 100%. We saw a few senior citizens giving 25,000 naira check. Those were the few. It ended there. Nobody said they received any money again. All these humanitarian promises, if Nigerians will be honest and score the president when it comes to humanitarian affairs, what will be the score? We know that the civil servants of Nigeria, well, yes, they are the majority of the working class in Nigeria, but they are not the majority of the population. They are not the majority of the population. We, just as you said, we have many, the poorest of the poor, that don't even have accounts, that don't even have this access to this money that the government is saying will be given to them. As exciting as it might look, how is it that we didn't see 12 million households getting palliatives, and for some reason we believe we will see 75 million? How is it that state government were promised 5 truckloads of rice, and the remaining for them to give us palliative, we didn't receive it? It just was swept under the carpet, or we say the water swept it away. What humanitarian thing in this 1 year have we received? Now, if this is a gift, Sele, this is how gifts work. You don't tell people, they just receive it. Sele, it's your birthday. I'm not supposed to tell you that I'm going to buy you a gift. On that day, you just receive a present from me. That's why it's a present. Like, it just comes with a surprise factor. Nigerians are supposed to already be waking up today, being the 29th Democracy Day, and a good number of people already seeing their alerts. And it comes with a tag from the federal government, Happy Democracy Day, or whatsoever.
Happy 1 year.
Happy 1 year, exactly, Sele. That's how gifts work. Then we know, yes, you really have the intention. Now, we keep saying it. It's not the office of the Ministry of Finance or the finance minister. This is a humanitarian affair ministry work. This is to be able, because they are the ones with the capacity to know who are the Nigerians that are vulnerable, to be able to target them. That is not Edun's job. But you see, when you don't have your ministers in seat, why is the probe taking long? Why is there not someone acting for us to have the country move? So how is it that the Ministry of Finance will be the one to disburse funds for you? It already looks like a recipe for disaster. It will not work, in my opinion. That's how it looks like, because the Humanitarian Affairs Office is most likely to be the one that will effectively get this to Nigerians.
For accountability, we know who to hold responsible.
Exactly. So now, how are we shifting it? Already says, for me, just the fact that it's coming from the Minister of Finance already says this is not going to be successful to a large extent, because that's not the office responsible for this kind of dealing with the citizens directly, and so on and so forth. And we can say, we just want to see one promise being fulfilled, Sele. Just one thing, just do one thing that will just aid Nigerians, and it's good enough. We don't want all the so many promises, the many good-looking promises, juicy promises, and then nobody get to have a taste of it. It shows you are not a man of your word, and a man that is not a man of his word already shows us that we are following a shepherd, that we are in trouble. That's what it means. Because one thing, when it comes to diligence, to dignity, to ethics and work and growth and discipline, you have to be a man of your word. When you say, I will do this, you do this at all costs. Even if it will not be 100%, let's see 50%, but we have not seen even 50%. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to all the promises we have received from President Tinubu's administration, so far so good. Are we optimistic? Yes, we have no option but to be. So we are hoping, I am honestly hoping that for the first time, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will impress Nigerians, and we will eventually get this gift. 75 million people will get this 1 year of this gift. I'm really hoping that it happens, and it changed the narrative, that perhaps this will be a proof that, you know what, the first 1 year was tough, but now we are starting to get our bearings, so we will begin to come through with our promises. That is where Nigerians can begin to say, okay, yes, you know what, we are making headway regarding certain things.
You mentioned, some other few promises that we got and that we're yet to get. I mean, I remember, I think it's just lately you stopped mentioning the issue of the CNG bus. Maybe you're beginning to even get tired of
I think
why
yes.
are the buses
I
not,
wanted to mention it, but I was like, let's leave that
you
one
get, it's
aside.
just like, where are the buses, where are they?
Where
I
are
remember
they?
where the
Yes.
president said, you know what, even in the filling station, they should
They
have a
should,
place for the
yes.
CNG buses. None of that. So we can keep mentioning, you know, a number of things that are not functioning. Just yesterday, we were looking at the fact that aviation system, we really don't know what is happening.
Yeah.
We're waking up to a few other ministers telling us how much they have realized as revenue, what they were able to do, why there's not enough funds to employ more ministers, ambassadors coming from the
Yes.
foreign affairs minister. So you begin to ask, there's so many promises, and when are we going to accomplish it? Of course, somebody can be of the opinion it's too early to judge the president or to judge the entire, you know, ministers and the rest. But I keep saying you only know how the future will be from what you can see now.
Yeah.
You could actually be hopeful and say, okay, you know what, I can see that presently as it is, certain things are working.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the paper where they, because of the hike of foodstuff, how much is going to cost to control the school feeding. And how many of these children are actually getting the balanced diet that they need? So we can touch quite a number of things, and we say, you know what, a lot of things are not working. Are we here to say the president has not done anything? Of course not. But we are hoping that, you know what, when you have ministers, they should be on there to do the right thing. So let's just see how and when and how early the 75 million Nigerians will get the money. And I'm hoping, please, to the people who will eventually get, please, when you get it, let us know.
Yeah.
So that we can appreciate the government. And if you can make it to the papers, I think it will be, you made mention of communication in the morning where certain information are being hoarded and then you don't really know the real picture of things that are happening. Now, still in the spirit of the 1 year, there have been a back and forth between the federal government and labor. This is the minimum wage. And you already started a conversation from whereby this issue of the wage award was supposed to stop since March. Because ideally the committee that was set up supposed to have finished whatever assignment, and by April we should be able to have the new minimum wage.
True.
Now, I clearly remember where I said I do not want a situation where we'll be running and whereby we see that the days are going and then nothing positive is coming from that committee. I was not a prophet of doom, but here we are.
Here we are.
We're still having the back and forth, and somebody cannot help but say, are we pricing pepper? Today it's 50,000, you add a little 2,000 on it. Or are you buying a pair of shoes? 60,000 naira, Rachel, according to the money that the federal government is saying, because it was 57, so they added 3,000, making it 60,000. And you could see how the CUC president was, you know, chanting and wasn't happy. And he said they are given, as of yesterday, they were giving the federal government 3 days. From today, it's already 2 days. So by Friday, the deadline given to them will be over. And we're seeing that it ended in another stalemate as usual again, whereby these are people who are asking you for 494. You're not even given half of that amount. Rather, we're seeing the 60,000. In the same country where we're having the governor of another state is already giving 70,000 as minimum wage, hoping to see what will be the new minimum wage. And here we're having a federal government saying 60,000. And you cannot help but wonder, okay, what will happen if we have our senators being paid 60,000? Will you accept that? I asked the question in the morning, is that just the basic salary without your housing, without your utility, without your transport, without your house, and so many other things added? In a time where how much is a bag of rice? In a time where transportation alone, it seems as if a number of people, especially in the private sector, are working just for transport. Because you end up spending more than half of your wage on transportation. Not to talk about other things that you need to take care of. Talk about rent, talk about power. We are not even seeing the light. Some people are privileged to get. So many things are not working. And here we have our leaders saying, you know what, this is the money we're going to be paying as minimum wage. So I'm just wondering, where did we get it wrong? How did we get here where we have our government? Of course, we can say this is just a starting point. maybe eventually the amount might increase. But why start with such an amount for starters?
If anybody like you and I have been following the Nigerian news for a long period of time, seeing how the government work, will not be prophet of doom. We just predict because we can tell that this is obviously what the government will do and how the government will go about it. It's a shame that the Nigerian government is this predictable and there's nothing they do that is new anymore. We already from the onset, we said that you know what, we know where this minimum wage will go to. Eventually, the ceiling that it will start, the maximum it will get to. And no wonder we were not surprised when they started the bidding at 48,000, or was it 47? Thereabout, that was where they started. And Labour got angry and left the meeting and all of that, and they were asked to come back. Okay, sorry, now come back. And then they added it to 54, then 57, and today we're seeing it at 60. And then for me, it's easy for you to know that you know what, the federal government of Nigeria will never go above certain amount when it comes to minimum wage. And you can't only look at it from 2023. You look at it from when the last minimum wage was implemented, when the minimum wage before the last minimum wage was implemented, and you look at how things are going, be it our minimum wage as against the dollar when it's being exchanged, what is it? You know that, okay, you know what, the most we've gone above when it comes to minimum wage in this country now in recent years is just a little above $100. And now when you look at it, looking at what our exchange rate is now, when you even look at the 60,000, you still see that it's just a little bit above $100, for example, and all of that. And there's still a negotiation. As far as I'm concerned, we've said this is just an auction for what a Nigerian is worth when it comes to salary and compensation at the end of the day. Is let's start somewhere, and if we start low, that's why they had to start from as low as 48,000, because when you start this low, then you will be able to keep growing. 3,000, tomorrow we'll wake up and they've added 2,000 naira, tomorrow we'll wake up and they'll add 4,000 naira, and tomorrow we'll wake up and we'll know eventually there is a limit that the bidding will get, and it stops there. And whether Labour likes it or not, their 494,000 naira will be kicked to the dustbin, and it stays there, because in the end, it's not what Labour wants.
It's what the government.
It's what the government want, and they claim they can afford. In as much as Nigerians know that you can afford more than what you claim you can afford, but in the end, we just have to take it like that, because we grow up with this, with quotes like half bread is better than none. And all of that. So we accept it like that, and then we move, and then we keep thriving, and then you realize that your minimum wage has gone high, but your standard of living has depreciated, and you realize that we are just where we started. Msele, you said something very valid. The fact is, if you are a minimum wage worker right now in Nigeria, and your pay is exactly 30,000, even if it's just a little bit above 30,000 naira, you're working only for transportation. As long as your drive to your workplace is more than 20 minutes, you're literally working only for transportation. Except if your drive is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we know that that's a very short distance. So we're looking at you spending nothing more than 300 to 500 naira, if that is the short distance, like 10 minutes drive and all of that. But once it's above 10 minutes, we're looking at people spending above 500 to 1,000 naira on a daily basis. And how many working days do we have in a month? We are looking at 20 working days, Mondays to Friday, times 4 weeks. We are looking at 20 working days. And then that's 20,000 out of your 30,000. So what about rent? What about feeding?
Sure.
What about how do you survive? We can do the calculation, and then it's out there. So yes, if you are earning minimum wage in this country, like just exactly minimum wage, even if it is a little bit above it, you are literally only but working for transportation. And that is the saddest part about our reality. And that is why I know when, of course, I can't be on the federal government side when it comes to minimum wage. Sele. Nigerians are due that much when it comes to minimum wage. Nigerians are worth 500,000 naira, worth 1 million. If you're not working on stabilizing your currency, then you need to pay us enough for us to be able to thrive as against the dollar. That should be the standard. But if you are floating the currency and we're looking at it staggering left, right, center, then you have to pay us according to a currency that affects, literally directly affects our living standard and all of that. We'll just wait and see. We know that obviously the 31st May deadline is not visible anymore.
So. Very
It has been long overdue. When we hear them talk and say it's not possible, anything you hear the Nigerian government say, believe them. If they tell you by the 31st, they are most likely not going to reach a conclusion, just agree. Don't follow labor when it comes to Nigerian decision. It's what the government is saying that is most likely going to happen.
It's their word against labor.
Exactly. Labor is just a union championing a cause for a better Nigeria. But in the end, the decision maker is still your government. So if your government says we are not sure we will be able to implement minimum wage by so date, believe your government, because in the end they are running the show, and what they say happen is what happens at the end of the day.
Richard, you know why I feel, or I think a number of people might share the same opinion, so the fact that the reason why we're still having this meeting ending in deadlock, if you observe carefully, Richard, the operational private sector are not part of this. In fact, as it is presently, they are insisting let's just stop at the 70 or the 56,000.
Yes.
Why don't we also have the operational private sector joining in this? I believe maybe, just maybe, if they join, maybe the government will begin to say, you know what, everybody is involved. We're having the civil servants, we're having the trade union, as well as the private sector. So everybody is actually pushing for the fact that, you know what, honestly, these workers deserve more. Just like you said, I mean, every Nigerian deserves it. Just look at how much a civil servant will put into work, 35 years of service, and yet when you retire, how much are you being paid? Yet we'll have a governor, after 4 years or 8 years, you are collecting constant money, millions of naira, and meanwhile, you are still at the house as a senator or as a House of Representatives. Mostly it's as a senator, because that seems to be their retirement plan over the years. And then you are still collecting money there. So why don't we have our lawmakers saying, you know what, honestly, these people deserve more? Is it because they will not benefit from it? Because we only see so our leaders only championing anything that would benefit them directly. But if they are not beneficiaries, very true. If they are not beneficiaries, they don't tend to associate themselves with such things. You know, while you were talking, I just couldn't help but cast my mind back to when the government said that, you know what, we should start riding bicycles to work. And I say, lead by example.
They were ordering bulletproof cars of hundreds of
So what are we saying? So the common man should keep walking while you guys enjoy it. Well, let us see how far. 2 days to go, right? So wait to see what the government will be able to achieve in the next 2 years. But 2 days. But just like we said, the prediction looks like it's not visible to come to an agreement by Friday. But let's just hope that maybe somehow something positive will come out of it. Well, thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Also, thank you to our viewers and also to our supporters for watching Nigeria Now. Until we come again tomorrow, please do have a great day ahead.